Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tim Miller. My pronouns are he and him, and I am your pulpit host today. And I would like to welcome everybody to this day, International Women's Day. So, special day in that respect. I'm sorry I got out of place here in my script. On behalf of this congregation, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Native tribes. Whether you have joined us online or you are here in our sanctuary, we are glad to have you with us in this sacred time we choose to be together. Our congregation is served by our minister, the Reverend Jaimie Simon, who is available for pastoral care or to answer questions about Unitarian Universalism. Email is minister@uuch.org. Easy to remember. If you're a newcomer, please sign our guest book in the foyer and to receive our weekly email newsletter. And that's an important thing if you want to find out what's going on. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices. I think I have silenced mine. But you don't need to silence yourself or the people around you. Children and adults, joyful and not so joyful sounds are welcome here. If you have a joy, sorrow, or important milestone that you would like shared during our Circle of Candles and included in the pastoral prayer, please write it on one of the white cards found in the hymnal rack in front of you and place it in the offering basket when it comes around. For community news and events, check our email newsletter, and I noticed there's quite a few important ones that are not in the announcements today. I'm going to try to sneak a couple of them in. For community news and events, I already said that, website and the announcement section in your order of service. And there are quite a few there. This week we have these additional announcements from the stewardship team. We have started our March Pledge Drive strong. Let's keep it up. You can help by signing up today to attend an upcoming cottage meeting. That would be after church in the fellowship hall. Half the seats at these cottage meetings are already reserved, so sign up today to make sure you get the date of your choice. Sign up in the fellowship hall or use the link in the newsletter, that email newsletter I mentioned. 19 pledge commitments of over $117,000 have been made so far. We have a long way to go to reach our goal of $290,000. So your help is needed and appreciated. Make your reservation today for a cottage meeting. Or fill out your pledge commitment form by the end of the month to be paid during the church year. That starts on July 1st. Thank you to everybody who will help UUCH continue our vibrancy into the future. I would also like to point out that we do have a food pantry out there for people who need food. And what you can do is either sign up for it from the link on the in the newsletter, or you can just bring a can to church or any event that you come to, and I think there's a basket for them out there. Gail Williams. Gail, would you stand and wave? Talk to her or see her. And Zena is here, isn't she? Zena, are you here? She might be busy somewhere. Yeah, she's out there. Okay, I was going to have her stand and wave too. All right. I wanted to announce for the as a request from our friends, the Quakers, that the local Quaker group, well, I did have it up here, that they are having an event this Thursday. And do you remember where that is? Oh, I remember. It's at the chapel at First United Methodist Church, the big white church downtown. So it's in their small chapel, and the program is by a woman who works in Nicaragua to help women and children there. Very interesting organization, and she has the firsthand experience to talk about it. Okay, let's see, where am I? All right, after our service, everyone is welcome to join us in the fellowship hall for coffee and snacks, and of course to sign up for pledge cottage meetings and so forth. Now, I would like to invite Layla to come up to ring the singing bowl to help us enter into the service more deeply. Finally, having gathered in a shared quest for truth, meaning, and purpose, let us light our chalice with these words by Michael de Vernon Boblet. Please respond to each line with, "We are not alone." So this is a responsive thing. And I'll let you know when to say that. We are not alone. We are this flame, ancient as the stars, new as the vulnerable spark. We are not alone. We are this chalice, rimmed by the spiral dance of searching. We are not alone. We are the light soaring, the shadow deepening, the dance between them. We are not alone. We are the heirs of the tribes and their fires, the healers and their circles. We are not alone. We are here. We are here for ourselves. We are here for each other, and we are not alone. Thank you very much. And now, to help center yourself and quiet your mind, we will have our music for centering, followed by our thread song, number 359 in the gray hymnal, When We Are Gathered.
Good morning, friends. Welcome in. My name is Reverend Jaimie Simon. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my privilege to serve as the minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville. Welcome once again. Now I invite you to enter into this time to center in with these words from Reverend Michelle Collins. Come awaken your senses to this moment where we practice the revolutionary act of noticing, the breath that sustains us, the beauty hiding in ordinary hours, the small things that keep hope alive. Come, let us train our attention to that which leads us home. Come, let us worship together. As we begin our time, I invite forward Shalene Modi to offer a reflection and pledge drive testimonial. Come on up, Shalene.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Can I have a quick show of hands so I don't feel so alone? Did you also oversleep today? Thank you. This is just another example of how we're a community willing to forgive each other. But let me also start with what I was actually wanting to start with. I have been a Unitarian Universalist or with the UUCH for almost 13, 14 years now. I've been with this church since 2018. And one thing, as I'm now approaching almost 50, it'll be another couple years, but I'm also surprised that's happening. Every so often, you hear something like, oh, that's a Daniela or Dion or Deepa question. And at some point, you become that person who is being referred to by the sheer fact that you have a lot of expertise, you're old enough and still have some wits about you, or nobody else knows, but they trust and appreciate you. And the idea of people trusting and appreciate you sometimes can be uncomfortable, especially if it's maybe trusting and appreciating you for quite a bit. Especially if you're just not used to it, in people being interested in you without much judgment. And something I've found in this journey to be on the same wavelength with people is you can be vulnerable with, which is just incredibly valuable and energizing. That value and energy at its best primarily is coming from a place of invitation and integration rather than assimilation. A UU community has many opportunities to put into action the spiritual wisdom that you just find yourself connecting with. As we have no particular creed, service is often used as a vehicle for one's spiritual development. It's a bit of stretching your reality to see and seeing how things turn out, rinse and repeat. At UUCH, I've stretched my reality by having been a CYRE teacher, chair of 2 committees, a board member, an occasional worship leader or co-leader, and yes, probably everyone's favorite amateur chocolatier they have regular contact with. But because of taking up those roles, and sometimes doing it scared, I find I'm listening better. I'm able to find a point of connection with people easier. I'm able to negotiate and otherwise find solutions without much anxiety. And I feel more secure in myself and more regularly practicing self-respect. I recommend those things to everybody. So in my the places you'll go adventure of service and personal growth here at UUCH, I believe the trust and appreciation to me is credible. I believe it is credible because it's coming from other imperfect people who all know the score. Life doesn't often feel easy or fair, but as Amanda Gorman's The Hill We Climb poem describes, we still decide to climb towards a greater existence anyway. It's why so many of us give of our life to see how great our future selves can be through money we give, service we perform, engagement in new spiritual practices, and other efforts. This is what a UU community does because of a general orientation of seeing good fortune for any one of us as a benefit to all of us, moving towards greater spiritual life. This includes what happens when we stumble. A couple times I've been called to task for something I've misinterpreted, resulting in a slight against another, and I appreciated the effort to keep me within church covenant through respectful and healing dialogue. I'm happy to support it through my service and my money. A culture oriented towards building people up, helping them up when they stumble, is worth investing in. And when the concept of community as a safety multiplier is more than lip service, a culture like the one of a UU congregation to try to uphold, maintain, and improve becomes vital. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my experience at UUCH. I do wish you find an energizing way to invest yourself in the congregation with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalene. Now, I'd like to invite you to join with me in singing our opening hymn. It is number 300 in that gray hymnal that you'll see, and it's called With Heart and Mind. Let's sing together.
With heart and mind and voice and hand, may we this time and place transcend to make our purpose understood. A mortal search for mortal good, a firm commitment to the goal of justice, freedom, peace for all. A mind that's free to seek the truth, a mind that's free in age and youth, to choose our path no threat impedes, wherever light of conscience leads. Our martyrs died so we could be a church where every mind is free. A heart that's kind, a heart whose search makes love the spirit of our church, where we can grow and each one's gift is sanctified and spirits lift, where every door is open wide for all who choose to step inside.
Following our first hymn, we remain risen in body or in spirit to sing our doxology in English and in Spanish. That's on the blue card, and speak our words of aspiration. And when we get to those words, we turn toward each other to face each other and speak these words as words of promise in community. Let's sing.
From all who dwell below the skies, let faith and hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land.
the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. You may be seated. And now I'd like to invite forward our children to come forward for our story for all ages. Pardon me. I'm going to tell you what's up with the box, don't worry. Imaginate, oh, I like that answer. Good morning, friends. Good morning. Miss Jess is on vacation this weekend. Good for her, love that. And so she asked me to tell a story with you this morning. Is that okay? You feel good about that? All right, thank you. Now, can I get a show of hands? Who's excited to go learn and play in class this morning with your teachers? Fosters, we got some grown-ups who are excited too. Love to hear that. You're both hands up. I love that. All right, so I have some interesting questions for you this morning. And I wonder if you can help answer them for me. Do any of you know what it means to be girly?
Girly things?
Yeah, to be girly. Or what it might mean to be boyish. What do you think?
Well, there's no such thing as a girly or boyish thing because you can be your own person no matter what.
There's no such thing because you can be your own person no matter what. That's a great UU answer. Saoirse, what do you think?
You can be binary, like you could be both.
Yeah, you could be non-binary. You could be both. You guys are winning the game already. Grown-ups, what do you think? Has anyone been told what it means to be girly or boyish? Yeah. Do folks feel like you've been, and I wonder, has anyone told you that you were too girly or not boyish enough? Has that ever happened to you guys? I'm really glad. But let's look real quick. Look at these grown-ups. I wonder, has any of our grown-ups ever been told they were too girly or too boyish or not boyish enough? Do you guys see there's a bunch of hands up, right? So there are things that we're told to some of our grown-ups that fortunately we're not teaching to you. We hope. There's plenty of ways that that's the case. But today in our service, I'm going to talk with our grown-ups about this big word called masculinity, which is kind of the traits and values and things that describe what it means to be boyish or girlish. Femininity would be for girlish. And what we're going to be talking about is that even though we know all genders can be some degree of masculine and feminine, in our past and sometimes even right now, people have tried to turn this idea of masculinity and what it means to be a boy or a man into a box. And so I have a box for you, and I wondered if anyone wanted to sit inside my box and see if it fit. Yeah, take turns. Everybody try and get in the box. Okay. Layla, you're in the box.
Mallory's turn.
Okay, it's Mallory's turn to be in the box. Wonderful. Now you can take Mallory out of the box. We're going to take turns running through the box. All right, you get out of the box. What do you think? And so here's the idea, right? Sometimes there are boxes that we put people in. Yes, Alexis, do you have a question? Oh, okay, that's exciting news. Avery, you want to sit in the box? No, okay. Do you want to sit in the box? You want to see if it fits? Yep, okay. So sometimes the world puts us in a box and it feels comfortable, it fits just right, we feel good about it. And sometimes we find ourselves in a box that doesn't fit right, that's too small or too big or just not the right size for us. And I wonder what we can do then. What do you think?
Well,
Sometimes
sometimes we'll grow and we'll be bigger and stuff.
we grow and we're bigger.
But when we're growing, it's okay because we get new body parts and we get do different changes.
Yeah.
The changes of our body. Our body's not gonna be always the same. It's gonna be different.
Yeah.
That's what my mom taught me.
Yeah, so we know that sometimes when we grow, we change and our bodies change, and that's okay. We're not always going to be the same. But here's another thing we know. If the box doesn't fit, we can open up the box. Could you guys help me rip this box open? Yes. I bet it's going to take all of you. All right, friends. All right, friends. You can keep ripping that box, but you got to listen to me too, okay? Here's what I want you to know. Here's what I want you all. It is not possible to be too feminine or not masculine enough. These expectations aren't real, and when we act like they are, people get hurt. And friends, I want you to hear this one, so let's stop ripping for just 1 second. I want you to know that who you are, exactly as you are, with the traits you have and the clothes you like to wear and the way you act in the world, that is exactly who you are supposed to be. And I want you to know that I am proud of each and every one of you for being you. And I want you to look behind you at this big room of people again. Because back here is a whole room of people who love you for exactly who you are and are really proud of you for being the person that you are. Do you see them? And they're going to support you in being exactly who you want to be. So that's what I wanted to tell you this morning. And now you finally get to go off to your classes. And could you do me a big favor and bring your box pieces with you and put them in the recycling? Oh, you guys, we're going to sing you off to your classes now.
We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville, a proudly inclusive spiritual community. Together we build a broader search for meaning, a bolder form of compassion, and a braver voice for justice. At this time, we invite you to support our mission with a monetary contribution. You may donate online using the QR code in your order of service, or you may put cash or check donations in the offering baskets. Completed circle of candle cards, the white cards, should also be placed in the offering baskets. And you are invited to come forward during this time and quietly drop a stone into the bowl of water here next to the ramp in honor of or in memory of what you hold in your heart. With gratitude, we now receive the offering.
Friends, will you join me now for our time of meditation, reflection, and prayer? Loving Spirit, join us in this moment as we share with one another that which is on our hearts. The joys and sorrows we carry with us into this space that hopefully in sharing can lighten our load and help us leave this space feeling connected and cared for. If there is a person or a place that you'd like to send some joy this morning, some celebration, I invite you to lift them up in your heart or speak a name or a word into this room. Joining these held joys, we lift up from Bridget Demore this joy. Kites, kids, candy, critters, ice cream, clashes of cymbals and drums, all mixed up in a day of community called the Kite Festival. What a wonderful day. We are grateful for opportunities to celebrate and culture and find connection. And in that celebration, we hold sorrow and grief for our world, for each other, for our families. If you are holding a sorrow in your heart, if there's someone who needs a little extra care today, I invite you to lift them up in your mind or speak their name aloud in this room. For these places of care and concern held in our hearts, for the places in our world that need peace, that need hope, that need understanding, we send our prayers this morning. For all of this, may we say together, blessed be and amen, and sing in response meditation on breathing. It's 1009 in the Teal hymnal.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from the book, The Men They Wanted Me to Be, Toxic Masculinity and a Crisis of Our Own Making by Jared Yates Sexton. I'm going to quote Jared throughout our service today. Here are his words. But what was most amazing, other than my father's apparent transformation, was that Dad, seemingly exhausted by years of near silence, began to speak openly about the burden of masculinity. He told me the expectations he'd carried as a father, as a son, as a man, had sabotaged his relationships and prevented him from expressing himself or really enjoying intimacy and emotionality in his entire life. Shocked at the depth of frustration and despair my dad had suffered, I listened and realized for the first time that the masculinity I'd sought, the masculinity I'd been denied, had always been an impossibility. Deep down, I realized that masculinity as I knew it, as what it was presented to me, was a lie. Men like my father and men like him who attend Trump rallies, join misogynistic subcultures, and populate some of the most hateful groups in the world, are prisoners of that toxic masculinity. That is an artificial construct whose expectations are unattainable, thus making these men exceedingly fragile and injurious to others, not to mention themselves. The illusion convinces them from an early age that men deserve to be privileged and entitled, that women and men who don't conform to traditional standards are second-class persons, weak and detestable. This creates a tyrannical, patriarchal system that tilts the world further in favor of men, and as a side effect, accounts for a great deal of crime, including harassment, physical and emotional abuse, rape, and even murder. These men and the boys following in their footsteps were socialized in childhood to exhibit the ideal masculine traits, including stoicism, aggressiveness, extreme self-confidence, and an unending competitiveness. Those who do not conform are punished by their fathers and the boys in their school and community. And if that isn't enough, our culture then reflects those expectations in television shows, movies, music, and especially in advertising, where products like construction site quality trucks, power tools, beer, gendered deodorant, and even yogurt promise to bestow masculinity for the right price. The masculinity that's being sold, that's being installed via systematic abuse, is fragile because, again, it is unattainable. Humans are not intended to suppress their emotions indefinitely, to always be confident and unflinching. Traditional masculinity, as we know it, is an unnatural state, and as a consequence, men are constantly at war with themselves and the world around them. Yates Sexton's words. I invite us now into a meditative hymn, a hymn of questions, a hymn of love and connection. It's number 1053 in your teal hymnal, and we're going to sing it through twice. And you can remain seated for this one.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Libby Roderick, the singer-songwriter and eco-activist who wrote this song, has been sharing it since she wrote it in 1988, but I didn't learn it until much later. My dad, who was the president of the UU Fellowship of the Peninsula for a few of my childhood years, had gone off on an amazing adventure, a weekend-long leadership training at the Mountain UU Retreat and Learning Center in North Carolina. And he came home talking about the glowworms he saw on a hike and the unlimited bowls of chocolate ice cream he got to eat in the cafeteria. And he came home singing this song. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? He sang it to my brother and I at bedtime, and in the car, and in the backyard as we splashed in the little pop-up pool. And it stuck with me, this beautiful, pointed question. How could anyone ever tell any of you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could we? Except, well, we do. We live in a culture that invests so much time and energy and money into telling us that we are everything less than beautiful, that we're broken and not enough and not living up to the expectations of our larger culture. Society does this, friends, in all sorts of ways. We do it toward people in fat bodies, in disabled bodies, in queer bodies. We do it toward people of color, poor people, immigrants. Friends, we talk about these issues a lot here at church because they matter, and we want to be people who speak truth against the lies of our culture. And today, I want to pay attention to the ways our social system does this to men and masculine people. The way we are taught to lift up and promote a singular ideal of masculinity, and how over time that ideal has gotten smaller and smaller and stricter, and it's begun to poison all of us. In my extended family, it's the season of baby boys. Between Will and I, we've had 3 little baby boy cousins born just in February. And we're delighted that my sister-in-law is expecting a little boy in June, our first nephew. And I think about these little boys, new people who've just arrived into this wild world. And I think about the pressures that will be put upon them, the expectations, the boxes they've been born into. And I want a gentler world for them. I want them to be able to decide if they identify with masculinity at all, and if they do, what kind of masculine they might want to be. And I want each of these boys and all of us to be safe and healthy and well. And it's clear to me that we can't be in a culture of toxic masculinity. And so we have to talk about it. So what is toxic masculinity? The Good Men Project, an organization that focuses on this issue, defines it this way: as a narrow and repressive description of manhood, designating manhood as defined by violence, sex, status, and aggression. It's the cultural ideal of manliness, where strength is everything, while emotions are weakness, where sex and brutality are yardsticks by which men are measured, while supposedly feminine traits, which can range from emotional vulnerability to simply not being hypersexual, are the means by which your status as a man can be taken away. Basically, the way they put it, toxic masculinity is what happens when the normal idea of what it means to be a man goes horribly wrong. And when it goes wrong, and it has gone wrong, people get hurt. I suspect I don't even have to lay out how toxic masculinity hurts women and children and queer people and people of color, but I will because it bears keeping in mind. Jared Yates Sexton, the author I'll quote throughout, roots his exploration of masculinity in his own experience. He talks about being a child in a home where he witnesses his mother moving from abusive relationship to abusive relationship. He witnesses the impact of men who were unhappy in their own lives, economically disadvantaged in small-town America, wielding the only power they had left, which was power over their partners. This trend plays out in cities and towns and families all over. We know that in the United States, 1 in every 2 women will experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. and instances of this violence happen to about 6 million women a year. That, friends, is an epidemic. And in the shadow of that reality, we're living in an era where this kind of abuse and abuses much, much, much worse are allowed to go unchallenged. We follow the news and we're reminded that there are files and files and files of evidence implicating our world leaders in heinous abuse against women and children. And yet, toxic masculinity both encouraged that behavior to begin with and now serves to protect the perpetrators. It's a double-edged sword, and if we care about the safety and humanity of women and children, we need to pay attention to it. Toxic masculinity becomes a global issue too in the ways that it plays out in our interconnected world. The violent effects of American toxic masculinity particularly have been seen to lead towards a need for more and more conflict. According to Sexton Yates, this worldview means that America must always be ready to fight. It's important. If we are to be men, we must always be ready to fight. And examining history, we see that when men are taught that communication is weakness and the only way we can express ourselves is through anger and violence, with that framing in mind, wars in Korea and Vietnam, Afghanistan and Iraq certainly make more sense. We can add Iran to that list. Each an opportunity for America to assert its dominance, and each resulting in massive casualties well after it becomes obvious that victory in a traditional sense is unachievable. On the geopolitical scale, that toxic masculinity leads to imperialism and conquest that harms and destroys at home and abroad. And ultimately, the men themselves are the victims of toxic masculinity. The expectations of stoicism and aggression leave men emotionally stunted and unable to form deep relationships. In Yates Sexton's book, he writes, "From childhood to manhood, men are kept in line by those closest to them." A terrible perversion of friendship and intimacy that keeps boys and men from ever really connecting with one another for fear of that emasculation. That's as deadly as a smoking habit, he says. In fact, studies have shown those who are lonely have a 26 to 32% chance of an increased rate of premature death, and men who have friendships involving a lack of emotional intimacy are most certainly lonely. And beloveds, we understand the cost of loneliness. It leads to mental health issues. It leads to anxiety, depression, suicidality. And it makes people vulnerable to being radicalized by hate groups of all stripes, hate groups that exploit that loneliness to increase violence. We see this play out with young men, predominantly white men in our communities. When they're cut off from emotional intimacy and economic opportunity, they're turning their hatred, their anger, their frustration toward the all too familiar scapegoats: women, people of color, immigrants, trans people. And despite their hopes, this scapegoating won't actually save them. All the way around, toxic masculinity is life-threatening, and for us, addressing these trends matters now more than ever. In Unitarian Universalism, we covenant around the shared values of equity and transformation. That is, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion, and we adapt to the changing world. We see where inequity is sown deep in the fabric of our wider culture, and we commit to living differently because of it. We notice the trends that are preventing boys and men from flourishing with dignity, love, and compassion, and we seek a new way forward. As a religious community, we are capable of setting cultural norms and expectations. So in our community, I want us to pay attention to what a framework of healthy masculinity could be. I want us to articulate it, to name it and teach it and nurture it in our boys and our men and our masculine folks. I want us to make it a point to have a standard and let that standard shine against the backdrop of the dominant culture. And beloveds, as luck would have it, we don't have to look very far to find our standard. I see in this room a multitude of examples of healthy masculinity in the many strong and gentle men and masculine people who are a part of our community already. Here I see men who are effective leaders, competent enough to get things accomplished, and compassionate enough to ensure no one gets left behind or taken advantage of in the process. Here, I see brave men, men who have the capacity and the willingness to interrupt other men when they're engaging in toxic behavior, men who speak up for the humanity of women and queer people, even when we aren't in the room. Men who would intervene in situations that could lead to violence and harm. Men who have no loyalty to the old boys club and want it taken down just as much as I do. Here I see healthy, emotional men. Men who cry when their hearts are broken. Men who grieve honestly and love openly. Men who feel things deeply without shame or embarrassment, because, my friends, there is nothing embarrassing about having feelings. It's a part of being human. Here I see nurturing men, men who take their sacred responsibility as parents just as seriously as their partners do, who change diapers, who fold laundry, who cook dinner, and who listen to their children's hopes and fears and wondering questions and help them grow with confidence. That's the kind of healthy masculinity all masculine people ought to strive for, right? We know that faith communities all over our country lay out strict, intense expectations of masculinity in their people. There are churches in our town, in our neighborhood, all over the place that have a clear and narrow vision of what masculinity is, and they teach it. Some of you may have wound yourself toward Unitarian Universalism in part because you needed to get away from those communities and their toxic expectations. But it was never masculinity itself that was bad, it was always the narrowness. And so for our community, why don't we set our own expectations? Why not say in this place that we expect and promote a version of masculinity that tells men and masculine people that they can and should have close friendships with people they aren't romantically linked to? Why not remind men that they can and should have emotions and share them with others, their friends, their family, their therapists? Why not remind men that they can and must be strong and courageous so as to interrupt and intervene against toxic masculinity and rape culture? Because men have been granted some of the strongest positions in society with which to interrupt these cycles. And why don't we insist that if men do choose to parent, that they be nurturing and gentle and playful and kind, and treat their co-parents as equal human beings, deserving of just as much respect and rest as they are? If religious communities are places that are arbiters of culture and social expectation, then let's put forth this one. As for me and my house, as for us and our house, we will teach this kind of healthy masculinity to our children and expect it from our friends and our partners and our fathers and our elders. And friends, when we see our men living this way, when we see healthy, holy masculinity lived out around us, may we never fail to remind them just how beautiful they are, just how whole, just how loving. May we live this way together. Blessed be, and amen. And will you sing with me a dedication, those words, as from me and my house, you will find us serving peace. This is one of those zipper songs, so we will be serving peace, hope, joy, and love, and I'll call them out. Please rise in body and spirit to sing these words in your order of service.
As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. As for me and my house, you will find us serving peace. Peace for all right now.
Serving hope.
As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope. As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope. As for me and my house, you will find us serving hope. Hope for all right now.
Serving joy.
As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy. As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy. As for me and my house, you will find us serving joy. Joy for all right now.
Serving love.
As for me and my house, you will find us serving love. As for me and my house, you will find us serving love. As for me and my house, you will find us serving love. Love for all right now.
Take a moment to extinguish our chalice. We're not distinguishing it. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, our service now comes to a close. I'll be at the back of the sanctuary to greet you, and everyone is welcome to head to Fellowship Hall for coffee and conversation. I encourage you this morning and each morning to introduce yourself to friends you haven't met yet and make sure everyone in our community feels welcome. As we go forth from this time of gathering, this time where we share our sacred attention with something worthy, remember this: who you are, exactly as you are, with the traits that you have and the clothes that you like to wear and the activities that you find fun. That is who you are supposed to be, feminine, masculine, or otherwise. You are who you are supposed to be, and I want you to know that I'm proud of you for being you. I want for you the healthiest and most expansive life you can live. May you go out and find it. Amen. Blessed be, and we'll leave singing our rite of community, May I Be Light in You.
May I be light in you. May you be light in me. Into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be love in you. May you be love in me. From this place up to the world for all time.
Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.